Hello and welcome to the Ask Assaad Show. I'm Michael Gaines and glad you are joining us today as we continue our ongoing conversation of bringing insight out and bringing you expert analysis from NOV as well as other experts and change makers in the industry of energy and our world around. So glad you are joining us today. We have a really great show in for you, a really special show, as a matter of fact, and are really glad to be able to bring that to you today. So as you get ready to participate in our conversation, let us know where you're watching us from. We always enjoy seeing comments from viewers and to know where you're able to catch the Ask Assaad show and what part of the world that is. So definitely feel free to put that in the comment section. That'll be really great. So speaking of comments, we're going to go ahead and bring in Shelby Dumaine to talk about how you can get your comments on the show, as well as share your feedback and thoughts with us for future topics, including this show. Hey, Shelby, good to see you.
Hey, Michael, it's good to see you as well. I think we have a really great show planned. I'm really excited for our audience to be able to hear from the guests we have on the show today. And if you would like to ask our guest questions at any point in the show, go ahead and comment them below, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I am in the comment section the entire show, watching everything you're saying and seeing all the great conversation and questions that you have. And then at the end of the show, we're going to do a live Q&A with our guests. So go ahead and type your questions in. You don't have to wait till the end to input those. You can go ahead and comment those now, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. And then after the show, if you would like to get a hold of us and maybe ask us more questions, more in-depth questions, or maybe even give us an idea for a future show, something that you would like to hear us talk about, we love hearing from you as well. And there's two different ways you can do that. The first is you can email us, and that is you can email us at askassad@nov.com. So that's on screen now. You can go ahead and shoot us a quick message that way. And then the other way you can get in contact with us is actually by giving us a ring, give us a call. So that number on screen now is country code +1 346 223 4799. I love this option. You can call, leave a voicemail, let us know your name if you'd like, or you can stay anonymous, and maybe even where you're from and where you work, perhaps. And we can feature you on a future episode. So those are the ways you can get in contact with us. But as a final reminder, go ahead and put those comments in throughout the show for the Q&A at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thanks, Shelby. And so the Ask Assaad show would not be complete without adding an Assaad Mohanna. So I want to go ahead and introduce the show's namesake, Assaad Mohanna, NOV's Director of Business Strategy. There he is in the digital flesh, as always.
How you doing, Michael? Good seeing you.
Yeah. No, good to see you, man. Really excited about today's show, and I know we're going to get to our guests in a bit, but as always, really appreciative of kind of getting your perspective and insight. And I'll tell you what, since we've been doing this, where we have this kind of review of what's going on in the week, I thought there would be, periods of, we got to scrounge around to find something. But I tell you, it's like every week it seems like this flywheel of change and really, things going on, it has not slowed down. And I think this past week has been a prime example.
That is a good example. This week has been quite busy, Michael, with a few things that happened. I'll start with the announcement by Amin Nasser, who's the CEO of Saudi Aramco, during his awarding ceremony for Energy Executive of the Year a couple of days ago, about his expectations and Aramco's expectations on a recovery being as close as 2022. And that's been one of the most straightforward, open statements out there about a recovery in terms of world demand for hydrocarbons. So it's good to see, although it does come a bit earlier than what the International Energy Agency announced, also in their World Energy Outlook report that also just came out, saying that it's probably closer to 2023, probably at least a year or two ahead of us. And in that report, what featured was, to nobody's surprise, a lot of energy transition efforts in carbon reduction, but also a bit on a return to nuclear, and that being part of the recovery as well. So interesting to see, with their outlook being a recovery in demand by 2023, Saudi Aramco 2022. We've always said that it's probably 18 to 24 months away. So that kind of aligns with expectations. Now, speaking of recovery, I think the bigger piece of news today, which is probably not yet an official deal, but we've heard some news of a story breaking about ConocoPhillips acquiring Concho, which is a rival in the Permian Basin and a player in the shale plays. That came out last night, and I think with how accelerated things have been over the last few months, really, this quickly follows what we heard from Devon and WPX not too long ago. Also, Chevron and Noble, which is closing this month. And of course, Oxy and Anadarko last year. So this really ranks number 2 in terms of size, close to maybe $12-13 billion acquisition. If it does happen, I think that aligns really well with the recovery efforts of the industry, the consolidation between the different shale players, and a return to capital discipline in developing shale fields, and hopefully matching supply and demand. So lots of stuff going there. In my opinion, that's all good news, because that's the road to recovery, Michael.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And so certainly know that there is a lot of good things happening, though, in the background, inclusive of some of the efforts that have been undertaken by today's guests, to which I'm actually going to go ahead and introduce them. I know that you're going to dive in just a second, Assaad, but I wanted to introduce our special guests today, and want to go ahead and first introduce Kevin Krausert. He's the president and CEO of Beaver Drilling, and he's had over a 20-year career in the drilling industry, and has really seen just numerous facets in the space. He is going to be talking to us about a really interesting program called the Avatar program, which is one of the focuses of today's conversation. And so we're going to be hearing from him. So we've got Kevin, also have Justin Demontarnal. He is also a member of the Avatar program. He actually has my title's the voice, but I think his title's even better. So he has the title as a program architect or architect. Wish I could have that. I'll defer to Justin on that. The architect for the Avatar program, and also a mentor for young professionals. He's currently a senior project engineer at Enbridge, and has been focused on project development and execution of mainline compression, pump stations, and liquids terminals projects. And then finally, we have Ana Villarreal Escudero. She is a mechanical engineer with TC Energy, and so she's had a career that's really been focused on integrity and reliability, commission, and most recently a design of compression station across Canada, where she works to implement low emission designs. So she also is a co-chair of the Calgary chapter of the Young Pipeliners Association of Canada, and another fellow architect, a program architect for the Avatar program. So really excited to have all of you here, and really look forward to jumping in. I know, Assaad, you're going to kind of jump in first with Kevin, and we're certainly going to circle around with Justin and Anna in just a little bit. Yes,
that's great to have you guys on the show. Kevin, I want to start with you. We're going to talk a couple of things today before we get into the Avatar program. All three of you are based in Canada. You lead one of the leading drilling contractors in land drilling up in Canada. you've seen probably one of the toughest times, like all other companies that have hit our industry only in the last 6 to 9 months. We've also recently heard about some efforts for recovery. First, I want to start, perhaps you tell us on what's the Canadian market looking like? And we talked a little bit about recovery. How's that coming along?
Yeah, thanks, Assaad. Great to see you, and thanks for the invitation on your show and showcasing Canada. I guess maybe I might even go back a little bit further than just the pandemic on sort of explaining the state of the Canadian energy industry. In broad strokes, Canada is the 4th largest oil producer in the world, after only Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the US. The world's 4th largest natural gas producer. But I'd say the forces of disruption actually for the Canadian energy industry set in quite a bit sooner than the pandemic. Really in the last oil price collapse in sort of 2015, that was really when the market started changing in Canada. In Canada, we've got 3 million barrels a day of oil sands production, which is bitumen that's upgraded into a crude oil and exported out. That production really started growing pretty exponentially, and the pipeline capacity of the country really wasn't keeping up. And the politics and the social forces and environmental forces in Canada made it very difficult and very burdensome to build new pipelines to bring the oil and gas to market. So this had the sort of knockdown effect on changing drilling activity and really driving a lot of innovation that was happening inside Canada, in the sense that we became very lean, very mean, and very disciplined sort of in the 2015, 2016 era. So that, I guess, was really the stage. Enter the pandemic, oil prices, swing to negative territory. The rig count in Canada collapses to, I believe, 8 rigs, which is an all-time historical low. To find fewer than 8 rigs operating in Canada this summer, you would have had to go back to before the major oil discovery in Canada in 1947, known as the Leduc number 1. So it was really basically a full shutdown of the energy services side of the business here over the summer. Liquidity was a major issue for companies. The government of Canada tried stepping in and providing liquidity measures. That proved very controversial with some of the green movements that was really kind of going forward. But now we're sort of at a new normal. The industry is at about 80 rigs for Canada. To give you an idea, 2017, we would have been running 280 rigs about this time. So, about a 50% drop from this time last year, but more like a 70 or 80% drop from 3 or 4 years ago. So I guess pivoting now, I think, to recovery. The way I think the energy industry looks like in Canada from a recovery perspective is I think there's really probably 3 broad strokes. I don't think anyone is going to suggest somehow an 80 rig count is going to be a healthy amount of activity for Canadian upstream market. But nonetheless, certainly better than what it was before. But I think we'll see 2021 as sort of the inverse of 2020. We went into 2020 pretty strong, hit the pandemic, basically full shutdown with a slow creep up. I think it's going to be a slow winter, but sort of towards the end of 2021, you'll start seeing sort of certain incremental activity. But in terms of recovery, I'll give you 3 broad strokes that I'm looking at. First is the access to capital. You mentioned a few deals that are happening on the Permian, and that's encouraging to see. As of right now, we're only seeing paper deals in the Canadian market. When does actual capital start coming in, as opposed to just consolidation through paper deals? And when do the enterprise value to EBITDA multiples start matching? This is pushing the cost of capital up for new energy projects in Canada into the 20% kind of number, which I think we all know is really difficult to get a project off the ground. Secondarily, innovation. Canada's working on some really exciting innovation forums. We have COSIA, the Canadian Oil Sands Innovation Alliance, which has generated about 150 patents for efficiency improvements and really increasing the speed that we can do business. There's another group called CRIN that I sit on the steering committee for that's doing some fantastic work. And then I think thirdly, it's really going to be decarbonization and what the net zero future looks like. The government of Canada has committed to net zero life cycle emissions for the country by 2050. What role does oil and gas play in that? And how can we be a meaningful partner in climate change going forward?
Right. Okay. So what I hear from you is capital availability. If that's not available, then we're not going to make progress. With that needs innovation, even in the downturn, to not waste the downturn, and the decarbonization part. Kevin, you and I had discussed probably a few times over the last couple of years how shale is coming back, but Beaver had played in that space for a long time and has succeeded in making a footprint with technology, with innovation, and ability to differentiate. I'd like to hear from you. What are you doing to lead your organization in the path that you just described?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I guess pre-pandemic, which when we would meet in person, we talked a lot about a lot of the big advancements we were making on our drilling automation systems, which NOV has been a big partner and of which we're proud of. And that's really helped us, understand the shale markets in Canada, of looking at a manufacturing drilling approach that starts making, a lot of these plays more and more competitive for us to position the company for the future. I would say right now we've almost taken the approach of never let a good crisis go to waste. And with this, emergence, there is all of these conversations from both capital markets as well as government players in Canada, that the industry really needs to be looking at what a new future is. So we're really looking at creating new business lines through some of the opportunities that have started. So Beaver Drilling was very proud to lead the Geothermal Alliance in Canada, basically bringing together all of the major geothermal companies in Canada alongside the Petroleum Services Associations, the CODC and PSAC, and a green energy group called Clean Energy Canada, probably the most influential green energy group in Canada, really to advocate and articulate the role that geothermal can create. So we were proud to see last week our Minister of Energy in Alberta announce a new policy framework for geothermal that we believe can create some opportunities and put some rigs to work. Likewise, we're looking at the emerging hydrogen market. In situ hydrogen production, there's the ability of putting rigs to work, drilling for hydrogen. Carbon capture are ways that we're looking, but we believe that there are growth areas as well as areas that have an attraction to capital. To give you an idea, the EV to EBITDA multiples for oil and gas right now are like in the 5 to 7 range, whereas EV to EBITDA multiples of clean tech is like 40. So where's the capital going, and how do we position the business to be able to position the company for the future with, a strong focus on technology? But that's, I'd say, what we're looking at as a company for recovery.
Okay. That's awesome. Quite exemplary and visionary of Beaver's part, I would say, to take on that path and not just follow, but lead in that direction. Kevin, I wanna ask a last question before we talk to Anna and Justin, but really about the latest throne speech. And I'm really enjoying this question because I don't get to be serious saying throne speech in any other conversation but this one. So we heard about the green recovery. I wanna know from you your perspective. What's a reaction from the oil and gas industry in Canada? And you talk about geothermal, hydrogen, carbon capture. How does that all align with the government plans?
Yeah, I guess for those of us not in Canada, we have this funny system where our head of state is actually not our prime minister; it is the Queen of England. And once a year, through her representative here, she provides a state of the government's plans for the next year, known as a throne speech. And so, generally speaking, there was a lot of apprehension that the green recovery that was so much talked about that we're going to potentially include a number of punitive standards for oil and gas. We were really happy that there were no mention of punitive standards for oil and gas, but rather pathways and opportunities for innovation kind of going forward. So while I'm sure there was some frustration from a number of players in oil and gas that it was different, that it wasn't as much as they were hoping for, working on these backroom negotiations, among others, most of us considered it a pretty big win that we were able to position oil and gas not as something to get rid of, but if we actually want to get serious about solving climate change, you need oil and gas at the table. And we're meaningful and willing participants to deploy a lot of the technology that is really the only realistic way of decarbonizing to the table. And we were pleased the government of Canada recognized that.
That's great. Kevin, thank you for this Canadian outlook. I want to shift gears to something else I know you've also spearheaded, and that's the Avatar program. And I know Michael has a question here that he's probably thinking about, but I want to kind of tee up with you first on what's the Avatar program?
The Avatar program is a collaboration between upstream, midstream, downstream, the aerospace sector, and the academic circles. It's a really ground-up approach to innovation, but also recognizing that the skills required for innovation require some new skills that we haven't used in oil and gas before. Creative problem solving, adaptability, economics, finance. So we worked at the University of Calgary to design a program that really fostered those skill sets. And then rather than just sit around and talk about either the challenges of our industry, let's find some solutions to our industry. And so we were really pleased with where we've come and where we've gotten to. But I would bring Anna and Justin probably have a lot more fun stuff to say about this. And
I was going to say, yeah, they're hiding behind the screen somewhere. But I know they also have a big announcement to make here at some point. Do a quick. And there's Michael.
Yeah, I know. You were asking all the good questions aside. I was like, man, I want to at least be able to ask one. But I know that there's probably some folks that are watching as well that might have questions. So for those of you who are watching, as the conversation is going on, if you do have questions, feel free to put those in the comment section, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and we'll try to get to those on the back end of the show. But yeah, to your point, Assaad, do have some questions, and yeah, definitely want to bring in Justin and Anna so they can kind of talk a little more as well about the Avatar program, because to your summary, Kevin, that sounds really really insightful, to be candid, very forward leaning. So maybe I'll start with you, Anna. Wanted to maybe talk about maybe some of the challenges and the technologies that the Avatar program addresses, and of course everyone likes a good story. So any success stories that might go along there as well, and certainly happy for you to jump in as well, Justin.
Certainly, thanks, Michael. So I just want to back up a little bit. So the Avatar program this time around was run entirely online. The Avatar program that Kevin started within his company, Beaver Drilling, was in person. We wanted to do something like that with the Young Pipeliners Association of Canada. But of course, COVID hit, and we had to be very quick on our feet and think, are we still going to do this? Are we still going to pull this off? And yes, we did pull it off. So we ran this program over the course of 8 weeks over the summertime, entirely with Zoom. There was a $0 budget, but a lot of exposure and a lot of empowerment of young professionals to develop new energy solutions through leadership, collaboration, and entrepreneurship. So in our program, we focused on specific topics to develop new energy solutions for. So they were hydrogen, carbon capture, storage and utilization, innovative construction techniques, digitization, and energy advocacy. We had our participants form groups where they tackled one of these topics. And then at the very end of the program, they pitched their idea to what we called a Shark Tank, which was a group of senior industry individuals that then judge them on their idea. So maybe Justin, I'll let you explain some of the successes that we had through this process.
Yeah, sounds good, Anna. Thank you. I mean, really for me, when I think about what we accomplished over the summer, it was really people focused and about the individual participants. So it was really a professional leadership development journey where young professionals in the energy industry were empowered and given the skills and tools to build a new energy future. Instead of the change in the messaging coming from the top up at the executive level at some of these companies, from the top down, it came from the bottom up. So really, young professionals within the program were really given that voice and that empowerment, as well as those skills required to build that new energy future. And I guess just kind of talking about some of the successes of the program. There's really three kind of big ones that I want to talk about. And, Anna mentioned that we had a Shark Tank pitch at the end of the program, and just kind of the outlook of that. Three of our really great, really big ideas. One is actually being piloted at the moment by a very large midstream company. So we're looking to further advance that idea, that innovation. We do have one of our projects is actually influencing government policy. So Kevin did mention the geothermal announcement from Minister Savage last week, and it was really humbling to hear her actually mention and address the Avatar program as part of the influence for needing that policy framework. And then the last one I want to talk about is our CCUS pitch, or CCSU, depending on who you're talking to. And for me, this idea was really interesting because it allows energy companies and government regulators to get on the same page in terms of emissions. So really at the root of their idea, they're now using carbon as a feedstock or a resource or a commodity to impact other industries. So basically utilizing carbon as a feedstock for enhanced oil recovery in some of our resource pools in Saskatchewan. So some really fantastic ideas.
Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting and to your point. I mean, a big congratulations to you all for not only the efforts that you put into the program, but to your point, Justin. I mean, hearing it being acknowledged and recognized on such a broad and prominent stage is certainly must be a testament to the collaboration and really, again, just innovative approach to this really unique problem solving. And maybe to that point, I'll maybe have a follow up to you, both you, Justin, and Anna. When you look at this particular initiative and approach to collaboration, I mean, it's really, really unique in its design, the architecture and implementation, and really a unique perspective into the industry. So how has it really been received, and what are the plans as you look down the road? Because I mean, you've obviously seen some success, and especially with things like this, success begets success. So what does the future look like for the program?
You're absolutely right. We really tapped into something here. We empowered young professionals. And I think that speaks a lot for itself, because often young professionals, they feel that powerless within their big organizations. And we really gave them a platform to use their ideas and work with people, not just in their companies, but across companies, sometimes even competitor companies. And also, given the nature of running the Avatar program virtually, we were also able to have teams that had individuals from across Canada. So not only did you get different perspectives from different companies, but also from different regions of Canada. So I would say that was another very big success. We definitely want to expand this program. We are going to expand this program, and this time it's going to be beyond just the midstream sector. So because we collaborated, Justin and I are part of the Young Pipeliner Association of Canada, our topics and the people that we recruited were really focused in the midstream sector. And this time around, we're expanding it to anybody in the energy sector. So we've teamed up with YPE, Young Professionals in Energy, and YWE, Young Women in Energy, to diversify our talent pool of young professionals to participate. And also the topics that we're going to address are a lot different. So it is definitely going to be bigger and better.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. I mean, what I really want to touch on as well is something that Anna had mentioned. It's that collaboration piece, or that collaborative approach. When I look at kind of my past years of experience in the energy industry, it's been a very competitive landscape. And I think one of the big wins of our program is that it allowed so many different people to get together and work collaboratively. And just looking at the energy industry in Canada, we are in dire straits right now. We are at a bit of a crossroad, and no one company or no one person is going to be able to pull us through it by themselves. So it is going to take a village to really move the energy industry forward. So for me, anyway, that's one of the big wins of the program is it's connecting people, it's connecting companies, and bringing people together. Because at the end of the day, as an industry, we're all in this together. It doesn't matter if we're upstream, midstream, or downstream. All three pieces work together, and we need to work together collaboratively.
Well, that's really, really great insight. And I guess any one of the three of you can answer. So for folks that are interested in just understanding more about, what the Avatar program is, or just wanting to understand more along your journey, I know that there's a continued focus, and rightfully so. Just like any business, you have a very focused approach to really ensuring that the Canadian landscape really benefits from this program. But for those that are interested in learning more, where can they go to either read more or learn a little bit more about the program?
Well, it's good timing, because actually tomorrow at 8 a.m. we're going to be launching the next steps. So we actually thought we could share a quick video of our, I guess, which will be our global premiere. You'll see before anyone else going out, and then we can, I guess, maybe explain some of the next steps. But I guess this is the global premiere of Avatar 3.0.
Global premiere right here in Assaad. Sounds great. All right, well, let's roll that clip.
Energy is the transformational tool that brought humanity out of the darkness. There is a new energy future, and we're going to build it together. Let us be Prometheus and steal fire from the gods. This is Avatar.
Man, if that doesn't get you fired up for Avatar, I don't know what will. Man,
take my money, sign me up right now.
Yeah, man, that's great.
Great. Yeah, the website is now live, so you can go to avatarprogram.org and put in your registration and information, and we will be having a live announcement on the exact details on November 15th. But I guess there's sort of three big threads we're trying to solve with this next version, and that's really, where does the innovation stumble inside of oil and gas and industry? And a lot of times that's actually getting inside some of the large companies capable of deploying it. So, having a structure in place where professionals who are working inside the multi-billion-dollar companies that are driving these types of the companies that can actually implement net zero solutions and energy transition is something we're hoping to solve. And we've also been in pretty active conversations with Capital Markets Canada to be able to look at these next pieces. So I can't give too much away other than that, but that might give you some threads of how we're thinking about it. But definitely Avatar is a ground up movement, and we want to include you. And so please go to the website and sign up.
All right. So give us that website one more time.
Avatarprogram.org.
Avatarprogram.org. All right. Well, folks will have to get in line behind me, because that man, if that's just a taste, I can't imagine the full entree. Well, really excited about the continued efforts and what the future has in store. Again, a really commendable efforts, Anna and Justin and Kevin, for all of what I'm sure has been historically would have been many hours together, but probably many hours digitally getting this up. I think there are many great things to come from it. So thanks for premiering the future of the program and sharing about with us here.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us.
All right, and Assaad, thanks again to you as well, and certainly a thanks to all of the viewers. I know, Assaad, that we're going to continue to have some ongoing conversations, obviously about the world of energy and guests coming up in the future as well.
Yeah, that's right. And kind of to conclude on this session, I think it's extremely relevant to talk about different ways of collaboration that we can have in the industry like these. I think those form an excellent example of how differently, we talked about business models for a long time, and how to get creative in commercialization and getting ideas out there and innovation in tough times. So I think I'm fascinated with what Avatar is doing. It's great what Beaver Drilling is doing in adapting to the new environment too. And I want to thank these guys for joining us as well. For next week, Michael, another to me they're all exciting, but another very exciting session or episode is with a special guest from the UAE. ADNOC's Senior Vice President for Technology and Information, Qasim Al-Qayyumi, who'll be joining us on a slightly different timing this time, on the Tuesday early morning Central Time, but 2:30 in the afternoon in Abu Dhabi time. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. And then actually later in the week, we'll be talking EFRAC as well. So
we'll talk about EFRAC.
Yeah, that's right. So get your rest, Assaad. You've got a busy week next week.
Yeah, I got to get the download of the schedule. But
no, absolutely. So looking forward to that. So thanks as always for your insight, Assaad, bringing insight out, as you like to say. Yep. And of course, as always, thanks to all our viewers for tuning in and being a part of the conversation today. We always look forward to your comments and feedback, so feel free to leave that in the comments section. So from all of us here at NOV, thanks for watching and for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.